Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Aries, November 2024 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, Clairvoyant. Well, this month we have an interesting deck. It's called, what is it called? Tarot of Vampires is what it's called. And it's full of, I think it's very romantic, this deck, full of beautiful women and handsome men, something for everybody. And the pictures in particular are really good for bringing up and showing us what the cosmic energies are for this month for you, so that you are able to manage them to your best effect and success. Now, you do know, don't you, that I provide clairvoyant readings to people all over the world by FaceTime and Skype, and the details are in the description after when you get to the end of the video. I charge for those, I have to. But what I don't charge for is another gift which I was given at birth, which is the spiritual gift of healing. It's free. I don't charge for it. Now, you probably say, well, if you're not charging for it, then it can't be any good. Look, the thing is, if I were to charge for it, it would not work. That's the basis upon which the gift was provided, and for a number of other people around the world, not many, they have, according to my conversations with them, the same soul contract to provide it to people who ask for free. The details are in the description as well. Now, there are no video advertisements placed into this, so you will be able to enjoy the experience direct without interruption. Now, if that healing speaks to you, just please don't feel shy, just contact me. Now, we're going to take 5 cards, because 5 will tell you everything that you need to do, which is required to be managed and give you a push along towards abundance, love, and success. So let's get it underway, shall we? And show me the magic. 8 of Skulls. 7 of Skulls. Skulls, well, we'll see what that means in just a second, I suppose. Let's see what there is here. There is the Lord of Grails. What's this? 8 of Scepters. And here there is the 6 of Skulls. 6, 7, and 8 of Skulls. Remarkable. I think it's going to be great for you. So why don't you come? I'll bring the camera around. We can have a look at the artwork on these together while the cosmic energies speak, and I'll do the reading for you. What a fascinating and successful month it looks like for you. Somebody interesting in your life that's tied up, I think, with this feeling of fear, which you make a decision about and you overcome. Things to do with a person, you go on to success. Let me see, what is this fear that's with you? A sense of resignation, almost. Let's have a look at this. Well, of course, you can take from these paintings whatever you would like, of course, but this is what I see. There's a woman here who seems to have the bottom half of her is that of a wolf, and that suggests her animal nature entwined with her physical nature here, who is hanging on to a sundial. Now, there's a sign of Taurus that's there above this thing. This sundial also has a feeling of Saturn for me. This tree here shows how far you've come, and the fruit that has dropped from the tree is going on to nourish the earth beneath you. Well, I'm looking at this, and the astrology of it is, probably unsurprisingly, that of Saturn in the 3rd decan of Taurus, the 11th to the 20th of May. Now, Saturn, as you would recall, is that often seen to be a slow-moving and restricting planet, whereas Taurus, well, that's the fixed sign of Earth, and the bull, its symbol is slow and plodding. Saturn in Taurus, well, there's the feeling here of restriction for you, perhaps. A resignation, a hesitation before moving forward with something. A fear, almost a giving up, because you're thinking that what lies before you is insurmountable. There's a fear of falling here. Now, I think, a fear of making mistakes that might be in your emotional realm. You see, this suit of skulls is, for me, all about lifestyle, and it does encompass emotion, as well as a fear perhaps of mistakes which touch your business or financial situation, or perhaps your physical condition and health. And you do see, I think, what might be apparently insurmountable obstacles, and you believe you will not be able to jump over these hurdles at the first try. And it may well be, because I am getting the sense of fear here, which incidentally everybody has from time to time, and it is only for a small time for you. Fear is providing perhaps terrible images, threatening up your life. So you draw back, resigned, and perhaps limit your actions to the old and familiar ways of dealing with problems. Fear. Look, I must say a word about fear. Fear is life's only true opponent in your life. Do you know, when you feel that you are in a dark place, you might feel that you are buried, but you should actually look upon it as being that you are planted, because your sign, that of Aries, that's the first emanation of the divine into manifestation, the first seed of the flowering which is to come with you and after you. And your task is to show everybody else how to surge forward, to pollinate, and to come into bloom. Fear, only fear can defeat life. Now, fear is a clever, treacherous enemy. It doesn't have any decency, it doesn't respect any law or conventions, and it shows no mercy. It goes for your weakest spot, which you can very often find with very unnerving ease. You let it in. It begins in your mind, always. So you've got to express it. Do you know, your thoughts, you paint your own thoughts and you give them words. So when fear is there, look at it, describe it, and say, you do not belong in my life because I am enough. I am lovable. I always have been. You must fight hard to shine the light of your truth statements upon it. Because if you don't, your fear becomes a wordless darkness that you will avoid, perhaps even manage to forget. But you open yourself up to further attacks of fear because you never really fought the opponent. I might also say that don't ever be afraid of your fears. They're not there to scare you. They're there to let you know that something is worth it. And when we fear or sitting around fearing things, well, we suffer, don't we? Well, tell your heart the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. It always is. And that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with the divine and with eternity. So don't just ignore the fact that there is some fear here. Take it seriously. You see, fear, either conscious or unconscious, can wrap itself around you. But now is the time to recognize, understand, and accept these fears, and understand that they are only products of your mind and that you can defeat them with your mind. Remember, your life, your experience of life is what you think it is. Now, thoughts, which affirm life in all of its fullness and beauty, along with this tremendous energy that you have. Well, they create the proper energy to change anything that you're worried about into joyful events, I think. But always have the courage to believe that you, of all people, everything that happens in your life serves for the best, and you are willing to release all that is not serving you in your life. I will say, though, that if you have been trying with someone in a relationship setting and things just are not working out, regardless of how much energy that you put in, well, now might be the time for you to think about what happens next. No, you of all people never should be afraid of anything. Act, move ahead, so that in 10 years' time you look back and say, my life is what I have chosen rather than what I have just let happen. Now, there could be something to do with a person that's in this depiction here of this Knight of Cups, which of course can be either gender, Lord of Grails as they call it, or King of Cups. Let's have a look at the imagery here. Well, the usual customary, this is interesting here, look at this flower. That shows that this is look, I might well refer to this as a male, for the obvious reason, but of course they're genderless really, the court cards. And this is a man, and also I may refer to sexuality between the sexes, and the lesbian and gay audience, please just to make the necessary adjustment. Now, here is someone who's bare-chested, unafraid of what people think, really, but this flower that he's holding says that this is someone who is capable of great emotional, fulfilling activities. But here is a object here, which obviously looks like some sort of head, perhaps, with things cut from the enemy, which says that I have taken from other people their life force, in a word. Now, the astrology that I'm getting a lot of Pisces and Aquarius around here. Now, esoterically, the Lord is fire and Grails is water. He's the fiery aspect of water. So there is a conflict going there because fire and water, as you know, just don't mix at all. So I see that there is there's a conflict going on inside the person. In a sense, the person has mental civil wars which are going on, which can actually lead to substance abuse, alcohol abuse, things like that. He does possess beauty and does offer love, perhaps romance. Yeah, there's a great creative ability to give expression to what are for him very deep emotions. But I have got to say that I think that this is somebody who has some commitment issues here. And again, I say it could be either a man or a woman, someone that's good to get along with, but just kind of goes with the flow. And someone who I have to say, and again, the lesbian and gay audience make the adjustment, someone who loves the opposite sex and the opposite sex love them. Now, if you've just come across this person here, and many people are thinking about going out and dating or looking at making changes in their romantic life, now is the time to find out as much as possible about him, about his previous relationships, about his relationships with his family. Now, your judgment and acceptance of him should be based on the kind of man that he is, not on his skill at manipulating your ego. Make sure you've always got one foot on his brakes and another on yours. Now, you might assume that he has the same level of emotional integrity that you do, but assumptions are a problem unless they have been tested and work out. Acknowledge how certain behavior patterns, such as setting boundaries, fault-finding, mixed messages, well, they're almost a universal indication of the commitment phobia problem that some people in general have, but they're not necessarily directed just at you. This is just how they are. Now, what a woman must do at the beginning is stay realistic and slow the relationship down. Now, at the beginning, you have a great deal of ego leverage and control. Use it to set the pace and the tone that will lead to permanency, if that is what you're interested in. No matter how much you're tempted to go along with his film star sort of style, don't just go along at it. Because you know that when a man, and very often a woman, when they're immediately overwhelmed by you, warning signals should go off in your brain, and here's what they should say. This man perhaps responds more to fantasy than he does to reality. And if he has ever treated another woman badly, don't assume it's going to be any different with you. If he blames his past problems entirely on the woman, then be very cautious. If he blames his past problems on himself, well, he may be telling the truth, and he'll probably be the same with you. Understand that the chasing, the capture of you, the dining, the romance, it's all part of his here and now philosophy, here and now. And he won't feel reluctant, I don't think, about sharing intimacies with you when you're at a stage where you're basically both strangers. He won't feel reluctant to do that because he's not thinking of anything beyond selling himself to you. Now, I never want to put anybody off romantic interludes, but consider the possibility that what he says may be a projection on his part, and that his sensitivity to women's issues may merely be a means of masking his own rocky history and his questionable intentions. And also remember, if I may respectfully say so, that even when such a character is behaving in a totally destructive manner, well, look, there's a tendency on the part of many women to expect the feelings that he expressed at the beginning to re-emerge and make everything right. Well, that's a bet that you're taking, and it's a big bet. But I would say in general that such a person is loving, generous, can be very supportive and tender. They're ruled by emotions, though, and not necessarily very practical, and they really try to flatter you rather than pinning anything down, rather than picking up their share of the expenses, and rather than making commitments to you. And such a person, I think, here could well be intensely insecure, needing constant reassurance. And I'm sad to say that at worst, but you would be the best judge, they can be unfaithful, fickle, shallow, over-emotional at times, and ultimately unreliable. But I'm quite sure that you'll be capable of looking after yourself and making the right decisions. Here is the Eight of Scepters. Now, I like this for you in this context because this number 8 here, I have an association with decision, with understanding and committed decision that you make. It also has an association with the planet of Mercury, and in fact, I see Mercury in Sagittarius here. Now, I think what's going to happen during this process of you are going to have Mercury in Sagittarius, brilliant powers of communication. This is somebody you can see that's coming through now completely unconcerned about being open about what they want in life and bringing that forceful electric energy down to deal with a situation. Clear, direct, swift communication. Well, that's always going to, for you, overcome any misunderstandings, and you do overcome obstacles, particularly those that you were fearful about. You see, I think you've conquered fear now with Mercury, that planet of intellect and communication. You will remove all blockages here. Now, if you state your own standpoint openly, directly, and clearly, any hindrances, be it in a romantic situation or in a more general societal situation, they could be transformed by you now, and misunderstandings or mixed messages can be chopped up and, well, I'd say cross-examined if you, excuse me, I bashed my head there, cross-examined if you like, to reveal what the actual truth and clarity of the situation is here. If you overcome the tendency to hesitate and to call things for what they really are, then you won't have anything restricting you at all. Now, this 8 is also bringing power, balance, stability, and your ability to create a situation, to turn it into what you want. Now, I think that the moment has come, really, at this time or during this period, for you to define where you stand. But if you're open and remain centered, you can clear away any misunderstandings. Your openness and self-confidence, well, that will shake the hearts of those who are messing you about or those that oppose you, and it will bring confidence to those that you love. This is really act now. It's don't put it off, find it out and deliver. I think you might also expect to be busy at this time, as there's a lot of energy propelling you forward. I think you'll sort out a project along the way. Look, this is saying for you to determine where your energy should be directed and to just get on with it. And by doing that, you will have success. And this is shown here in my estimation by this young woman who is now glowing, and she has this wolf looking after her, a woman who is glowing, absolutely glowing, no doubt as a result of this feed of blood, life blood that's come in there. This talisman like wards off evil. Is that the symbol of Taurus there as well? Look at all this light coming around behind you as well. Well, I see here that there is the light of what I would call probably the moonlight, given that they're vampires and tend to do things at night, don't they? Well, it's the moon ruling the second decan of Taurus, the 1st to the 10th of May. Now, this is great for you because the moon is exalted in Taurus, which is very favorable astrological energy here for you. And the moon, of course, likes comfort. It likes to provide for things. And Taurus, well, it loves material things. It loves sex, life, drinking, eating, good fashion, fast cars, all that sort of stuff. Well, the moon and Taurus placed here together, it's inevitable that they bring about material success here for you. So there is the external manifestation of your inner power here. There's a success and a transformation. I also see generosity going out, generosity coming in, paying it forward. You might well be receiving something of a financial boost. You might have success in dealing with a relationship and sorting it out and deciding where you stand. But be open to your success, as it is no less than a gift you can learn to accept thankfully and humbly. And realize also that real success only comes once you have learned to serve other people. Success, you see, under these conditions, that will enrich all levels of your being. Could be the opportunity to get involved in something of a business nature here. It's also a reminder for you to remember the successes in your life to date and to build upon those. But say to yourself, my self-acceptance and my self-confidence, They are the keys to real success. And also on this success theme here, you have this, which is doing what? That looks like some sort of a magician thing here. Look at the spirit. This is the power of thought that you see that magicians can use to materialize, to make things come up, the spirit going through it. Here is Saturn, time. So there's an element of time associated with this. There must be for me, but I see this good growth around as well. Okay, again, this number 8 here, Mercury. Well, the astrological vibe that I'm getting from it is the sun ruling the first decan of Virgo, 23rd of August to the 2nd of September. But I see 8 here. 8, as I said before, I have an association with Mercury. Well, Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and Mercury is also exalted in Virgo. And the sun here, along with the number 8. Very favorable. And here the sun is energizing Virgo's hard work and attention to detail. May well be pregnancy here. And when you have that hard work and attention to detail, you can't help but have success. But you might be thinking of being somewhat cautious, taking calculated risks going forward. You might be quite careful with money. Physical caution, but there's attention to fashion, makeup, clothing, cars, computers, games is what I'm seeing. There's also about not over or under extending yourself this time, but just doing what is necessary. Now, particularly at times of these, where there is a multifaceted flowering of success, extremes and excesses, they need to be avoided, because the internal flowering going on you is a delicate process, and you need to handle it with great care. Things are beginning to bloom for you now, particularly when, and we're sort of sometimes where you are actually not buried but planted. Plant the seeds, sit back and watch them turn into successful things. Because I think that a project that you have here could well be a long-term thing, but it is one that you are in control of. You're in control of things. You're in control of your life. And it may not be apparent to you, but events are unfolding around you that are going to lead you to your final destination. What a great set of cards for you. All the better for having you here.
Well, I told you that was an interesting deck, didn't I? And I hope you enjoyed the reading as much as I did by providing it to you. And unless I see you separately for a clairvoyant reading or for healing, then I'll see you again next month. And until then, though, remember one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.